She was traded like a sack of wheat to a scary monster as a wife. People expected her to hide and tremble in fear under his dangerous stare. But when the enemy leader pulled her into the bloody fighting circle, he did not know he was faced with the most dangerous warrior in the whole land. The wind blew strongly through the sharp peaks of the Silver Ridge Mountains. It carried scents of pine trees, blood, and wild animals. Inside the tall stone walls of High Reach Keep, people were only allowed to stay if they were useful. Lady Rachel of House Harrington was exactly that kind of useful person. To anyone looking, Rachel seemed like a weak, non-contributing noble lady. She had very pale skin. She was too thin, and her collarbones were sharp, which made shadows under her heavy cloaks. When her father gave her to the Werewolf King to protect his farmlands near the border, everyone in the werewolf court laughed. Lord Harrington had given away his youngest and least important daughter to supposedly buy years of peace for his people. Arthur, the Alpha King of the Silver Ridge Pack, had agreed to the deal with quiet acceptance. He stood very tall, and his wolf form was as black as night. His name was known throughout the territories from the hard wars over land in the last years. But as he watched his new wife shake from the cold by the big fireplace in the main hall, a deep feeling of sadness grew in his heart. "She looks like a strong wind could break her in half," whispered Frederick, Arthur's beta. Frederick leaned against the stone pillar. His golden eyes followed the human woman as she took small sips from a cup of warm, spiced wine. "The pack respects strength, Arthur. They will never follow someone who jumps when the wind blows." "She is not here to fight battles, Frederick," Arthur answered, his deep voice like low thunder. "She is here to make sure we get grain for the winter and to keep her father's soldiers out of our southern woods. Battles are my job as her alpha and her husband." Arthur tried hard to protect his human wife from the rough parts of his court. He stopped the usual bloody fights in the yard when she was near. He told the kitchen workers to cook her meat all the way through. He hid the raw, bloody pieces his kind liked to eat. In their shared bedroom, he treated her like something made of glass. He never raised his voice, and he never let his eyes shine with the golden light of his inner wolf. Rachel played her role perfectly. She looked down when bigger wolves came into the room. She made small surprise sounds at the scary stories told by the fire. She let Arthur wrap her in thick, warm furs and said soft, quiet thanks that made the strong alpha feel very protective. What Arthur and anyone in the big stone castle knew was that Rachel's shaking was not from fear. It was from tight, careful control. Before Lord Harrington brought her into the dangerous world of court games, Rachel had been an unwanted child born outside marriage. She was hidden far away by the sea. Her teacher was not a holy man. He was a banished fighter named Kevin. Kevin had fought in hard-fighting pits in the East. For years, Kevin had shaped her. He gave her a practice sword before she could read. He taught her that a woman's safety came not from being pretty, but from strong hands and a cold heart. Under her thick velvet dresses, Rachel's arms had tight, strong muscles. The skin on her hands was thick from hard work. She hid it with flower oils and soft gloves. She let Arthur treat her like a baby because a spoiled and ignorant wife could walk freely around the castle. She spent her nights learning the layout of the fortress, remembering where the wolf guards walked and studying old books in the castle library, learning the strategies these wolves use in combat. One evening, almost 2 months after their marriage, Arthur came back from checking the border. He left mud and red blood on the stone floors. A wild bear had hurt 2 of his scouts. Rachel sat by the fire with some sewing work. She watched as a healer quickly stitched a deep cut on Arthur's arm. "You should not watch this, Rachel," Arthur said softly. His forehead showed worry when he saw her looking at the wound. "Go back to your room. Seeing blood will only give you bad dreams." Rachel stood up. Her silk skirts made a soft sound. She gave him a perfectly fake look of fear. "As you wish, my lord. Please get better quickly." As she turned away, her face changed right away. The scared girl disappeared. A cold demeanor took her place. She had noticed exactly how deep the bear's claw cut was, how long it took for the werewolf fast healing to stop the blood and which plants the healer used. She was like a ghost in her own home, a hidden weapon waiting quietly. But the calm game of the fragile bride was not meant to last. The smell of war was already coming from the northern mountains. It carried the scent of the Ironwood Pack. The Ironwood Pack, led by the cruel Alpha Gregory, controlled the cold lands to the north. Gregory was a big, scarred man. His face showed many fights. His hunger for power had no end. For years he had wanted the rich hunting lands and important mountain routes held by Silver Ridge. The deal between Arthur and the humans had made him very angry. It blocked his only way to expand into the human valleys. When the first snows of winter started to cover the mountains, Gregory called a meeting at High Reach Keep. By ancient werewolf laws, Arthur could not say no to a peace talk without being accused of treason. That would make his own people turn against him. The big hall was dismal for the meeting. The air felt heavy and it was hard to breathe. Gregory came with strong, feral wolves. They walked into the keep with dominance. Their eyes dared Arthur's guards to do something. That night, a big feast was held. Arthur sat at the head of the heavy wood table. His body was tense. His golden eyes stayed on Gregory. To his right sat Rachel. She wore a dark blue dress and a heavy silver necklace with the symbol of Luna resting on her pale neck. Gregory tore a big piece of meat from a bone with his teeth. He chewed loudly and wiped his greasy mouth on his hand. His dark, shiny eyes locked on Rachel. "Tell me, Arthur," Gregory said loudly, "is the food so bad in Silver Ridge that you must take human leftovers for a wife? She smells like fear and baby milk. I bet my youngest pup could break her neck by accident." The hall went completely silent. Next to Arthur, Frederick's hand went to his knife. Arthur's jaw got tight. A low, dangerous growl came from his chest. His fingers turned white as he held his cup. "My Luna is not for your jokes, Gregory," Arthur warned. His voice was a deadly whisper that reached across the room. "Watch your words or I will take your tongue." Gregory threw his head back and laughed. It was a rough, loud sound. "You threaten me over a human, a weak little bird who trembles when the wind blows." He stood up. He put his heavy hands on the table. "You have become soft, Arthur. Humans have made you weak. The Silver Ridge Pack needs a real alpha, one with a strong mate, not a deal for politics." Arthur jumped to his feet. His chair fell back with a loud crash. The sound of many swords being pulled out filled the hall as both groups stood up. Teeth showed, eyes glowed. "Stand down!" Arthur commanded. His alpha power washed over the room. The younger Ironwood wolves made small sounds and looked away. But Gregory only smiled. His grin showed long teeth. "I am not here to fight in your eating hall, Arthur," Gregory said smoothly. He raised his hands like he was giving up. "I am here to use the ancient laws to make sure you chose the right Luna." Gasps went through the Silver Ridge. Arthur froze. The blood left his face. This was an old, cruel law from the first werewolf agreements many hundreds of years ago. If a visiting alpha questioned the strength of their Luna and her weakness, put all werewolves in danger, he could demand a battle. "You are a coward, Gregory," Arthur said with anger and fear. "You hide behind an old rule to steal my land. It is the law of our fathers," Gregory shouted. He turned to the old councils of both groups. "This human ruins our history and our future. I challenge the Luna of Silver Ridge to a battle of honor against me. If she lives, my pack will leave and promise to respect your borders. If she dies, Arthur gives up his crown, and Silver Ridge becomes part of Ironwood." "I will not allow it," Arthur growled. His eyes changed from brown to piercing gold. Claws tore through his gloves. "I will fight you myself." "If you fight for her," Gregory answered with a bigger, evil smile, "you give up your crown by the rules. The law is clear. The Luna must fight for her own honor, or the alpha admits he chose a weak mate." Arthur looked down at Rachel. She stared at her plate. Her hands shook hard in her lap. The sight broke his heart. Gregory had trapped him perfectly. If Arthur fought, he lost his kingdom, his pack, and probably his life in the fights that would follow. Rachel would be alone anyway. If he let her fight, it was sending her to die. Gregory loved tearing his enemies apart. Arthur put a big hand gently on Rachel's shaking shoulder. "Do not speak, Rachel," he said softly. His voice was thick with sadness. "I will step down. I will take you away from here. We will go south to your father's lands. I do not care about the crown if it means your death." It was a big surprise. The Alpha King of Silver Ridge, the scariest fighter of his time, was ready to give up his family home to save a human girl he had known for only 2 months. A whisper of shock went through his pack. Some looked at him with new respect. Others looked angry. Rachel stopped shaking. She looked at Arthur's hand on her shoulder. She saw the true care in his voice and the strong, protective warmth in his golden eyes. For years, she had been a tool. Her father had used her. Her teacher had sharpened her. But this werewolf was ready to throw away his whole world just to keep her alive. A strange new feeling grew in her chest. Rachel stood up slowly. She took off the heavy, dark blue velvet cloak from her shoulders. It fell to the stone floor. Under it, she wore a simple leather and cloth shirt and pants. She turned to face Gregory. Her back, usually bent to look weak, became straight and strong. The scared, wide-eyed look disappeared. It was replaced by a cold, empty face. The change in how she stood was so quick and strong that the whispers in the hall stopped right away. "I accept your challenge, Alpha Gregory," Rachel said. Her voice, usually a soft whisper, rang out clear, cold, and hard like strong metal. Arthur stared at her, frozen with confusion. Rachel did not look at her husband. She kept her eyes on Gregory. Her gaze moved down to his thick neck, measuring the exact spot between his collarbone and jaw. "Tomorrow at noon in the courtyard," Rachel said, her voice had no fear. "But I add one condition to your old rule, Gregory." Gregory sneered, though a small worry showed in his eyes at her sudden strength. "Speak it human." Rachel stepped around the table. Her movements were smooth and sure. She looked up at the big, scarred Alpha. "When I win," she said softly, so only the wolves with strong hearing could catch the deadly promise. "Your pack does not swear loyalty to my husband. When I win, the Ironwood pack belongs to me." If you enjoy this story, click subscribe so you'll receive notifications when a new audio from Alpha Love Stories Original gets uploaded. The morning sun was bright and harsh over the snow-covered yard of High Reach Keep. The fighting area was a big circle of hard frozen ground. Tall old stone walls surrounded it. Hundreds of werewolves now stood there waiting with anticipation of a sacrifice. Their breath made clouds in the cold northern air like smoke from a battle. The quiet over the yard was threatening. Arthur stood at the edge of the fighting circle. His boots left deep marks in the frost. He had begged Rachel all night from dark until morning light to run away. He offered her his fastest horses, chests of gold, and a group of armed guards to take her to the southern ports. She had said no to every worried plea with the same calm quiet while sharpening a big blade by the fire. Now watching her step out from under the heavy iron gate, Arthur felt a panic deep in his chest. Rachel wore no fancy armor, no velvet dresses, and no silver crowns. She wore a well-fitted shirt of strong leather and dark pants for easy movement. Her dark hair was braided tight to her head. In her hands, she carried a huge two-handed fighting sword. The blade was made of dark folded steel with the special mark of a famous human sword maker. The handle was wrapped in rough wire. The guard was plain. It was a tool designed for fighting almost as tall as the woman holding it. Gregory laughed when he saw her. It was a rough, loud sound that bounced off the old walls. He stood in the middle of the circle. He had taken off his heavy winter furs to show a body full of thick muscles and many scars. He did not fully change into his wolf form. Doing that against a human woman would look like he needed extra power to win. Instead, he let the scary change happen subtly, just under his skin. His muscles grew bigger. Thick black lines showed on his arms. His nails grew with cracking sounds into long, sharp claws. His jaw pushed forward a little, showing rows of yellow, sharp teeth. "You bring a man's weapon to a wolf fight, little bird," Gregory said with a mean smile. He cracked his thick neck. I will break that old thing in half, and then I will break your weak back over my knee. I will make sure Arthur watches the life leave your scared eyes before I take his crown." Rachel said nothing. She stepped exactly into the middle of the circle. Her boots made soft sounds on the clean frost. She took a strong, ready position. The heavy sword was held perfectly in front of her face. Her breathing slowed to a steady rhythm. The world around her disappeared. Only the space between her and the huge alpha existed. She remembered her teacher's rough voice from the practice rings of her young days. "Wolves fight with blind anger. They use big force and scary looks. You will fight with shapes and numbers, Rachel. You will use science. Let their anger be the heavy stone you will break them on." "Begin!" an old council leader shouted from the high stone balcony. Gregory did not wait another second. He launched forward with supernatural speed. He became a blur of muscle and deadly claws. He roared a loud war cry that made the ground shake. He aimed a wide, hard backhand hit straight at her head. It was a blow meant to cut her head off with pure power. Rachel did not try to block. Blocking a werewolf's angry hit with stiff arms would break both her arms. Instead, she made a perfectly timed sidestep. She dropped low quickly. She turned smoothly on her back foot as Gregory's deadly claws cut empty air just above her head. The strong forward push of his miss made his heavy body a little off balance. His left side was open for a tiny moment. With a sharp breath, Rachel turned her hips fast. She brought the heavy sword around in a powerful side swing. The dark steel cut deep into the thick muscle on Gregory's side. It slid hard between his lower ribs. Gregory roared in big pain and surprise. He turned his body fast and hit her hard across the chest before she could pull her blade back fully. The crushing hit sent Rachel sliding back through the snow. Her strong boots dug lines in the frozen ground to stop her. A terrified sound rose from the silver ridge wolves. Arthur pushed hard against the iron fence. He shouted her name, his eyes showing bright gold as he got ready to step in and lose everything. Rachel spit a mouthful of red blood onto the white snow. Her ribs hurt badly. A burning pain went through her chest. Her strong leather clothes and her careful breathing had taken the worst of the hit. She carefully fixed her tight hold on the sword handle. The cold, empty look on her pale face had not changed for even 1 second. Gregory held his bleeding side. His dark eyes were wide with wild surprise. A human had made him bleed. A small, weak human wife had cut his tough skin. The truth caused a blind, wild anger in his chest. "I will tear you into bloody pieces," he shouted. He gave full control to his inner beast. His bones cracked and grew longer. Thick black fur grew fast on his skin. In a few seconds, a huge, two-legged wolf creature stood in his place. It towered 7 feet tall over the bloody snow. He jumped again. He gave up all smart fighting. He swung wildly with both big claw hands. Rachel became an untouchable shadow. She used the smooth foot moves from her secret training. She moved easily through the wild storm of attacks. She blocked carefully with the flat of her blade. She made his big claws hit the frozen ground instead of meeting his huge strength directly. She moved with careful steps that felt out of place to the watching hunters. She was waiting for the moment. She knew the werewolf body perfectly from the pack's old books. She knew that when a werewolf changed fully and let pure anger take over, their heart beat very fast. Their muscles got tight without thinking. They always stretched too far in their kicks. It happened on his 4th leap. Gregory brought both big fists down in a crushing overhead hit meant to smash her head. Rachel stepped perfectly to the right. As his fist slammed into the frozen ground and made a hole sending ice flying, his thick neck was left completely open. This was the exact right moment. Rachel stepped without hesitation. She planted her front foot firmly on the ground. She pulled every bit of power from the solid earth up through her legs, her body, and her core. She swung the huge sword in a perfect circle of deadly force. The old steel made a deadly sound as it cut through the cold air. The heavy blade hit the side of Gregory's thick neck with the unstoppable power of a falling axe. It cut cleanly through the thick cords, smashed hard through the strong neck bones, and came out the other side in a big, horrifying spray of bright red blood. Time seemed to stop in the yard. Gregory's big, headless body stayed kneeling for one strange second. Then it fell forward into the bloody snow with a heavy, sick sound that echoed off the high walls. The enemy Alpha's cut head rolled across the icy ground. It stopped right at the base of the iron gates. The quiet in the yard came back. It was complete and shocking. The strong wind blowing through the sharp mountains seemed to stop completely. Hundreds of werewolves and the top hunters of the north stared in shocked horror at the weak human woman standing as winner in the middle of the circle. Her old sword dripped heavily with the dark blood of a defeated king. Rachel calmly took a clean cloth from her belt and wiped the steaming blood from her blade. She put the big sword away. Her breathing stayed steady, though heavy. She turned her sharp gaze to the living ironwood wolves. They stared frozen in deep shock. "The old law is finished," Rachel's voice rang out. There was chillingly calm across the yard. She pointed a bloody finger at the shaking pack. "Your Alpha challenged my right to be here. He bet his life and lost. By the blood laws your fathers wrote, Ironwood land and all its fighters now belong to me." For a painful moment, no one moved. But then slowly the ironwood wolves dropped to their knees in the snow. Complete acceptance spread quickly through their surprised group until every northern wolf bowed low before the delicate human. Arthur broke the heavy gate lock with one strong hit. He ran fast into the fighting area. He ignored the kneeling enemy wolves. He stopped right in front of Rachel. His chest moved fast. His golden eyes were wide with mixed awe and complete surprise. "Rachel," he breathed. He reached to touch her pale face. "What are you?" "I am exactly what my angry father made me," Rachel answered quietly. She let her strong fighter face crack for the first time. "Lord Harrington did not send me to make a peace deal. He sent a killer." Arthur stepped back. "A killer?" "He ordered me to murder you if it became necessary," Rachel said seriously. She watched betrayal flow through his face. "My father is a man with a hunger for power. He knew Gregory planned to break the border lines this winter. My father and Gregory made a secret deal. Gregory promised my father a valley for free passage through our lands. I had found the sealed letters in Gregory's saddlebags." An angry murmur rose from the Silver Ridge Council. Frederick jumped over the stone rail. He landed hard. "They planned to destroy our pack, and your father sent you here to stab Arthur from behind." "Yes," Rachel said honestly. She looked around without shame. "I was trained hard by Kevin for all my life. I was put in your bed so I could quietly cut your throat while you slept. That would leave your pack open for Gregory's attack." Arthur stared at her. The shocking betrayal fought with the truth of what she had just done. "Then why?" he asked. His deep voice broke. "Why did you not kill me?" Rachel looked up at the king. For the first time since she arrived, she smiled a real smile. "Because my father is a weak coward who sees me as a tool without a mind," she said softly. She gently touched his arm. "But you are the scary beast of the north. Yet you treated me with nothing but complete gentleness. When Gregory trapped you today, you were ready to throw away your crown and pride just to save my life. You showed yourself a true king, and a true king deserves a queen ready to kill his enemies." She turned to face the gathered groups. "Lord Harrington's deal is ended forever. I no longer answer to him, and neither do you. I am the true Luna of Silver Ridge and the blood winner of Ironwood. If the proud human lords ever try to cross our borders, they will face a battle. They will face me." A loud roar rose from the yard. Frederick dropped to one knee. "All hail the Wolf Queen!" he shouted strongly. The cry was taken up by the rest. Hundreds of werewolves dropped to their knees. Voices joined in a loud chorus. Arthur stood proudly among the roars. He dropped gracefully to one knee beside his loyal fighters. He took her strong hand gently and pressed his lips with respect to her knuckles. "My beautiful Luna," Arthur promised softly. "My queen." The legend of the human Luna spread fast across the lands. It became a fairy tale whispered in the dark, a strong reminder that sometimes the monster hiding in the woods is nothing compared to the girl waiting quietly in the open space. This story teaches us that true strength can hide in unexpected places. People may look weak on the outside, but inside they can have great power, skill, and courage built from tough times. It shows the importance of kindness and respect, even when the world seems dangerous. Arthur's gentle care opened the door for Rachel to choose loyalty instead of betrayal. True leaders earn respect through care and fairness, not just force. It encourages us to look deeper, to value inner strength, and to build bonds based on trust and understanding. If you enjoy this story, click subscribe so you'll receive notifications when a new audio from Alpha Love Stories Original gets uploaded.